Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to to a special impromptu live episode of Game Time here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I had to jump on today. So much broke this morning. It was news upon news upon news. Sometimes it's one story or a second story. You're like, okay, all right. It's kind of a thing to talk about at some point down the road on Game Time. But today there was so much NBA playoffs news that broke open and so much NBA stuff that happened here. And of course, we're going to talk about it all over the next hour, probably about an hour and 10, maybe. I got a little bit extra time possibly on the back end here. Got to record some Geek Buddy stuff right after this episode here. But this is impromptu because I just felt like talking about it. So I don't know how many of y'all are going to join me. I don't know how many of y'all are going to be in the chat or whatever, but let's have this conversation. So we're going to get into the Kawhi Leonard injury. And these updates seem to be getting worse and worse as the day is going on. So Clippers fans, I feel for you. We got CP3 going into the COVID protocol. We're going to talk about what that means for the Suns. Also going to get into the update here on Kyrie and James Harden. The Kyrie is out for Game 6. Harden is coming back for Game 6. Is that going to swing the pendulum? Also, Joel Embiid, let's not forget Joel Embiid, him suffering through the knee injury that he is suffering through to try to bring the Sixers back against the Bucks and possibly get that series. We shall see. Not against the Bucks, sorry, against the Hawks, and we shall see if that ends up playing out. I'm also going to talk overall about what this non-shortening of the season. They only shortened it like 10 games. They could have shortened it more than that. If this is the reason that we're starting to see these injuries and what have you, and also get into the firings. Stan Van Gundy out, SVG out with the New Orleans Pelicans, and Scott Brooks and my Washington Wizards have parted ways. What the hell is going on here? So we're going to talk about all of that as we go through the show today. And I've sent it out. I've sent the text out, the tweet out. If any of my running buddies on Game Time want to join me, they can text me and come on in. I'll send them the StreamYard link. Then come on in and we can talk about it for sure. And let's get into all that. We got the Streamlabs Super Chats are open in case any of y'all want to send it. I'm not asking for any. If you want to send some, feel free. This is an impromptu episode, so not expecting anything at all. But if you want to send in support, you got something you want to say, some questions, what have you, then please feel free overall to send something in. Got something from Bruno Silva. Says, Rocha, I've always appreciated your hustle. I will always rep for my fellow Latinos. Thank you. Appreciate that, Bruno. Very kind of you for sure. But yeah, we got this. So let's talk about this injury here with Kawhi Leonard. What happened, what broke, and what is going down here. It was a right knee sprain. He will be out at this point. They're saying for Game 5 against the Jazz here. That's happening later today. He is out, and they've announced no timetable for his injury. And Shams Charania, who I love reading and reading his stuff in The Athletic, Shams is reporting that Kawhi has suffered the Clippers are afraid, or they're fearing that Kawhi has suffered an ACL injury. Now, if he suffered an ACL injury, and ESPN's Brian Windhorst and Ramona Shelbourne, who I interviewed about a year and a half ago on Collider Sports, they are also reporting that the right knee could keep Kawhi Leonard out for the rest of the series against the Jazz. That's pretty crazy. He tweaked it in a collision with Joe Ingles of the Jazz there in the fourth quarter, about 5:25 left in the fourth quarter. He limped on his right leg, missed a pair of free throws, but then came hustling down with a little bit of defense and then took himself out of the game. The Clippers ended up winning that thing. He had done enough. He won that game 118 to 104. And he said when he was talking to Rebecca Harlow on TNT, she was interviewing him about it. He said, I'm all good. I'm all good. But I guess he's not all good, because it seems like this is an issue that is going to now be a concern for the Clippers and a concern for Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers were kind of fighting back in the series. They had tied the series up. They were looking to maybe have the upper hand on these Jazz with the experience that Kawhi Leonard has, having been to multiple NBA finals, with the experience Paul George has, having been, a star of his team for many years, having been in the NBA, been in the playoffs a number of times. They were kind of riding the ship a little bit, especially with Rajon Rondo there as well. They were riding the ship a little bit against these plucky, young, strong Jazz team. But in the end, if Kawhi is out for this series, I don't see a way for the Clippers to come in. Look, I like Paul George, support Paul George. Certainly, he's been outspoken about his mental health. Those some things that I are very near and dear to my heart. But the idea that Paul George could step in and replace Kawhi and pull what Kevin Durant pulled last night and score 49 points to lead the Clippers, I think would surprise me. Overall, Paul George hasn't shown the tendency or the impetus to become an alpha of this team. Certainly on other teams, he's been an alpha, but on this team, I don't know if he's got that desire and that drive and that energy to step into the situation and take over these Clippers and lead them to a series victory. Not just a victory, but a series victory. They might rally tonight and feel the impetus to pick up the slack for Kawhi, but I can't see it lasting over the next 3 games in a consistent. Paul George hasn't been consistent throughout the playoffs, so I can't believe that it would be consistent over the next 3 games. Now, he could prove us all wrong, could prove me wrong, and people who feel like me wrong completely, could really step on the gas, take over now with Kawhi out of the way, unfortunately, to an injury. Maybe Paul feels like maybe he settles into being that alpha again like he was on teams in the past with the Pacers. We could see him step into that situation and do that. That's certainly possible. And having Rajon Rondo there as your floor general is not a negative, and a number of other players to kind of help out and pick up the slack for sure. And remember, remember with Kawhi Leonard, this could be a very scary injury because he missed all but 9 games in 2017, 2018 with quadriceps tendinopathy. That was tendinopathy. Tendinopathy. Why do they make these things so difficult to say? I don't understand. Quadriceps tendinopathy in the same right knee. So it's in the same knee that he had these issues with in 2017, 2018. And, people have been kind of giving his coaches crap, giving Kawhi crap that he kind of plays on rest and has these rest days or whatever, but this has been possibly how he's been able to maintain himself at such a high level as a performer, as a player, because he understands his body very, very well. He understands what works and doesn't work. So if he's going to the players, that's what's being reported, that he's going to the players and telling them that he is out possibly for the series, certainly for the next game, then that's going to be something that's very serious for Kawhi Leonard. He was the best player so far for the Clippers the whole playoffs, no surprise to anybody. He had registered 31.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in that Game 4 victory before going out with his injury. He is averaging 27, 8, and 4 for the series entering Game 5. That's tonight at 7 p.m. PT, or 7 p.m. 7 p.m. PT, 10 p.m. ET on TNT. I'll definitely be watching to see how these Clippers react and rally. I have a friend who's a big Clippers fan. I texted him this morning. He texted me this morning about the Kawhi injury, but then I texted him back when the Kawhi injury, when Shams speculated it might be an ACL injury. I texted him back and he was like, F it, screw the season, it's all over. So we shall see. I mean, this is they came here to be with the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Kawhi selected Paul. He pushed for them to get Paul, and Paul came with him to the Clippers, but they haven't been able to sniff an NBA Finals. They haven't been able to reach their potential as a team. This Clippers curse, in essence, strikes again. I know all about curses in the NBA. Certainly the Wizards / Bullets are cursed. The curse of Le Boulet, as Tony Kornheiser used to call it. Those are those situations here you see that it's just like it's super frustrating. And the Clippers spent so much money to try to make this thing happen. And the irony is that Doc Rivers coaching the Sixers could win an NBA Finals this year. Blake Griffin, who used to be on the Clippers, could win an NBA Finals title with the Nets this year. Chris Paul, CP3, could win an NBA title with his Suns this year, leading them along the way. We'll get to CP3. Sorry, in just a second here. We got a super chat that came in from Olasigan. Wait, good to see you, brother. He said, hey, just want to share some more love for the show. That thanks to you and the guys for all y'all do. But damn, the CP3 curse strikes. And now Kawhi, this should just be the injury championship at this point. Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with you. This is the thing that's starting to become very, very frustrating for me as a fan of the NBA, as a fan of the NBA playoffs. Sorry, let me adjust my camera just a little bit. Yeah. As a fan of the NBA, as a fan of the NBA playoffs, this is starting to become a little bit frustrating because you're seeing these people getting injured, these superstars getting injured, and you're wondering to yourself why this is happening, why this is going on, why this is being allowed to go on. Yeah, they cut 10 games out of the season, so it made it from an 82-game season to a 72-game season, but still, there was talk of even less, of 60 games, 62 games, 80 games. Sorry, not 80 games, but 50 games. There was talk about that overall. Sorry, my girlfriend's asking me if I want anything from where she's getting lunch. Sorry. Yeah, but there was talk about them reducing the games to like 50 or even half a season. I know that I saw somewhere that had been floated around as a possibility. Now we're seeing these players breaking down. Anthony Davis in the first round with the Lakers. LeBron was having trouble as well. Now they're out. Joel Embiid is suffering through a knee injury, game per game, round per round, and I just don't believe that knee is going to hold up. Eventually, you're banging down low. Eventually, something is going to go wrong, and you're going to get hit. You're going to be twisted up. I mean, if the Nets or the Bucks, whoever wins this series, comes out against the Sixers team, if the Sixers survive the Hawks here at this point, then it becomes a situation of that other guy's injured, so you're going to go right at Joel Embiid every game. Because listen, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't stroke your hair, make you feel good playoff basketball. People are ruthless to win a title. People know their legacies are on the line, so they're not going to be like all kind and cool with Joel Embiid. They're going to go right through Joel Embiid to get to the hoop, to get to the basket, to knock him to the ground. It's not going to be pretty. And that scares the hell out of me, to be honest with you, overall. Let's see here. All right, so I just wanted to check to make sure if there was any Streamlabs Superchats. Once again, not telling you that you need to send it, but if you want to send anything as we're talking about this stuff, because I want to hear what you guys have to say, please feel free to do so overall. Here, let me put it in the chat as well. I always forget to do that, to put it in the chat overall for everybody to have. All right, let me get into it here. But what do you guys think about this Kawhi Leonard issue? What do you think this means? Is he done with the Clippers? Is Paul George done with the Clippers if they can't make this thing happen? Is that what we're seeing? Is that where we're going next with this Kawhi Leonard injury? Is that what we're going to put on the table now? It's just insane to think about how many times Kawhi has been in this situation, how many times CP3, who we're going to get to in just a second, has been in this situation. And it's a little scary. It's a little scary for the Clippers now, because do they blow this whole thing up? I mean, they just brought in Tyronn Lue to be their coach. This is his second season as their coach. Second season or first season as their coach. But they just brought him in to take care of business, and now he's got to deal with this situation. And it just seems like, in the end, I don't see the Clippers being able to win this series. I don't see the Clippers putting it all together with what they've got left on the team. Let's take a look at that team right now. Let's take a look at the roster of this team as they've been playing here in the NBA in the playoffs, and how they've been doing their thing here throughout the series. Let's take a look here at the roster and the depth of this team. Yeah, I mean, look at Nicholas Batum is going to. Yeah, you got Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson's been playing well. Certainly, we see Reggie in Detroit. When Reggie's been in Detroit, he can put up numbers when he's got to put up numbers. So, are these guys going to be able to step up? Reggie can put up numbers. Paul George can put up numbers. Marcus Morris Sr., that's your banger down low. He's not going to put up too many numbers. Zubac has been great as well in the center position. But you got Rajon Rondo. Certainly, we saw last year in the NBA playoffs that Rajon Rondo was kind of like guiding his way through the season. So when he got to playoffs time, he could be fresh and ready to put up points. He surprised some people with certain games, getting a high number of points and a high number of rebounds and assists as well. Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, Nicholas Batum has been known to have 20 to 30 point games every once in a while. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Patrick Beverley, certainly a great guard for you. Patrick Patterson, I don't know if he's going to get you much overall there. Yep, that's pretty much Yogi Ferrell, Terrence Mann. I mean, that's what you're looking at here in this on this team. And I don't know if I see enough players on this team to combat what the Jazz have. The Jazz are fully healthy. The Jazz are doing their thing. Donovan Mitchell, who is as cutthroat as they come as a point guard, is smelling that blood in the water now with Kawhi Leonard's injury. They had just tied it up 2-2 each team winning their games at home. So now we're going to Utah. And is that right? Yeah, I think it's going to be in Utah. And the 3-2 split's always weird for me on these things. But yeah, I think it's going to be in it's in Utah tonight at as we said 7 p.m. PT. So what's going to happen here? I think the Jazz are going to come up fired up to stomp all over these Clippers, and they may win this thing by 30 points. Now, maybe the Clippers rally. Maybe the Clippers put it together. Maybe Paul George, maybe Tyronn Lue, maybe Rajon Rondo. They put their heads together now the Kawhi's told them what's going on. Maybe they're sitting in a room right now with the rest of the team just figuring out plays, figuring out how to make these moves, and hopefully they've planned for the possibility of Kawhi Leonard or Paul George going down with an injury during the season and have a separate playbook for those plays, doing it in practice, doing whatever. Hopefully that's in their minds, and hopefully they're doing that and pulling out that playbook now and going over some of the rotations, going over some of the shifts, going over some of the plays and what have you to put it in motion. I wonder, because tonight's game is going to be very, very interesting for sure. We shall see how this goes around. What's he say? Mr. Ang says someone will be done with the Clippers, either Leonard or George. Something has to give this offseason. Yeah, I don't agree with you. I don't disagree with you, rather. I don't disagree with you. Something has to finish up this season. That's for sure. And it's kind of crazy to think about how it was looking so good for them coming back here. They looked like they were on top of things, and now they're in this situation where they could get knocked out by the Jazz. And then at this point, Paul George, with all the pressure that he's been under, all the criticism that he's endured, do you go to another team and just kind of chill out? Is Miami a possibility where you don't have to be the center focus? It's Jimmy Butler who's the focus. Does he go to another team and just kind of hang back? Does he go and find himself a situation like it had in Indiana, where he's the alpha dog, but the team is never going to go anywhere near the NBA Finals? But he'll be getting his points. He'll be getting his numbers. He'll look like an all-star all over again. Speaking of all-stars, remember Kevin Love? Where the hell is Kevin Love? I know he's on Cleveland, but for God's sake, someone get him out of there. That's a guy who was a superstar, and he's just been mired in Cleveland. Get him out of there, someone. Go and get him out of there and get him onto an NBA team so you can contribute and help a team get to the NBA Finals. I was just thinking about that today in the shower. Where's Kevin Love, for God's sakes? All right, so we'll see what happens with Kawhi Leonard. If this is the knee injury, this could be a pretty crappy situation for them. Let me see if I can find out if we got numbers on Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers without Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers record without Kawhi Leonard. There has to be someone who's got there has to be a website or something that's got those. Let's see. Clippers records without Kawhi. Here we go. The Clippers were 11-9 in the 2020-2021 season without Kawhi Leonard. 11-9 this season, over 20 games, obviously. Let's see here. Yeah, 11-9. So interesting situation for them. So that's barely over 500 in games without Kawhi. Is that enough to get the job done? I don't know. Is that enough to make it happen? I'd like to know who they were playing too, like what teams they played, and what the situation was there, and who they won and who they lost against overall. So yeah, so here's the situation with that. So with Paul George coming into this situation, the Clippers were 12-9 without Kawhi Leonard during the regular season, 6-5 when Leonard sat, but Paul George played. And many of the best games they played this year when they were shorthanded. So maybe there's a moxie, there's a guts, there's a veteran anger that people are writing them off, and they're gonna come out and just old man this shit. And you all who play pickup basketball, you fucking know what I mean. You young kids go around swinging and throwing the ball up, tearing to the rim, but old man basketball can frustrate you. Old man basketball is bullying you inside, getting away with those little hits, those little elbows in the gut, those little elbows in the back of your ribs there, pumping out for the threes, bullying you down low. There's a real possibility, just like LeBron did when he lost Kyrie Irving for the NBA, for the finals there, against the Golden State Warriors, and he had Dellavedova, of all people, helping him out in the situation. I think Kevin Love was out as well. So he dragged the Warriors into a mud pit with defensive calls. And I think Tyronn Lue was the coach at that time, but he dragged the Warriors into a mud pit and made it a battle. So maybe Paul George, maybe Rajon Rondo, maybe Tyronn Lue can drag these Jazz into a mud pit and make it a slow-moving slugfest and get the victory. Those who know Dark Knight Returns, you remember when the old Batman fought the leader of the mutants first time around and got his butt kicked. The second time around, he fought Old Man Fight with the mud in the eye and the chips, the solar plexus, and all of that. So that can happen, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I've done it in the Schmodown. These young bucks sometimes they are feeling themselves and they play the old man. The old man beats them. I lost recently to Ben, the young buck there, but I had beaten him in the past. He's not a young buck anymore. But, the young bucks, they talk their smack, then they get in the ring, and all of a sudden the world closes in on them for sure. So who knows if that can happen. Marcus Morris said, we've been injured all year. The best thing about our team is our depth. We really have 11, 12, maybe 13 guys we can throw in there. Guys are ready. That's what we've been hanging our hat on, is our depth all season. And it's coming to help us when we really need it the most. Luke Kennard can get some stuff done with shooting. Certainly Kennard has stepped up at time. Terrence Mann has stepped up at time with his defense. So we shall see. And what they can put together. But, I'm kind of curious, and I'm excited to see what they do tonight and see if they can put it together for sure. All right, let's move on to the CP3 situation. This is also happening. What a bunch of madness going on there. A lot of people talking about the CP3 because Chris Paul curse. He has entered the NBA's COVID-19 health and safety protocol situation here. Phoenix Suns announced this on Wednesday. He'll be out for action for an unknown period of time, with the next update on his status scheduled for Saturday. This was officially released by Monty Williams and the Suns. So Chris Paul is 36. The thing is, it looks like he may be out the entire series now before they get into the Western Conference Finals possibly here. And they have not released the schedule for the finals. The Suns are still waiting to find out who they're going to be facing, whether it's the Jazz or the Clippers, obviously, because the Suns have already won their series. They swept out the Nuggets. So if this is the time for it to happen, if he's going to get anything, this is the time for it to happen. I know some people talk about a CP3 curse or the Chris Paul curse, but the Chris Paul curse would have had him get COVID at the beginning of the series, or would have had him get COVID at Game 7 of the critical Western Conference Finals series, like he got injured when he was playing for the Rockets against the Warriors. That's the CP3 curse. But this time around, I don't see that happening. It's happening right when they're about to take a break, right when this Jazz-Clippers series could possibly go 7 if the Clippers step up and play, like I said, veteran old man ball and drag this thing into a pit. It could go 7 games. So CP3 may have more time to recover from the COVID protocol situation and, come off the list. Remember LeBron, they didn't even put LeBron in a COVID situation or COVID protocol. He went out to a whole party with people not wearing masks and possibly having COVID. And so this situation here with CP3 is a little bit different. He caught it. Now it's like, well, he's around it. Now it's a matter of, well, okay, what's the next step for him overall? So it could be a shorter Shams, once again, for the Athletic reporter, Shams Charania, once again, reporting the Paul's quote, isolation period could be shorter for a vaccinated individual. Chris Paul hasn't mentioned whether he's vaccinated or not. And in March, he said that being vaccinated is a personal type of decision. So they're not saying he has COVID. They're saying he was around people who had COVID, and so he may have it to pass on to people, or he may be being connected. He may be contagious in some way for that situation. So that's what would happen here. And Game 7 of this series, the Clippers Jazz, if it goes 7, it would happen Sunday. So you're adding all these days to his recovery process. And if he's been vaccinated, then it could be something that he could come back early on in the Western Conference Finals and contribute to these Suns. And the Suns are not the same without Chris Paul. You saw it in the first round series. They are not the same without Chris Paul. They question themselves a little bit more. They're a little bit more unsteady. Remember, Devin Booker, for all his heroics, Devin is a young player. So, you need that kind of veteran leadership to keep you in the right frame of mind, to keep you going in the right direction here. Chris Paul was averaging 15.7 points, 8.7 assists, and 4.1 rebounds over 10 playoff games. He was second on the team in points per game, and he has a commanding lead in assists here. The only person close to his average of 8.7 assists per game is Devin Booker, who is averaging 4.8. So right now, no one is speculating what the Suns are going to do without Chris Paul, because we don't know how long he's going to be out. We don't know if he's vaccinated or not. So there's a lot of questions here in this situation. And I hope we hear back what the answer is overall in this, and we go forward with it. But I want to push back on this CP3 curse. I don't think it's a curse if he's having it done on having this. I don't know what you guys think in the chat, but that's what it seems like to me. So we shall see. Let's see what else we got going on here. All right, let's see. Yeah, so I mean, I like this possibility, and I think this is going to work out for the Suns. I know there are some Suns who are a little worried about the whole situation. Will it play out in a negative for them? But he's quote unquote out indefinitely for right now. And Monty Williams, when he was asked about it, said, "I'm not even going to go there until I have to. So there's no reason for me to be pessimistic at all." He was asked if whether Paul was going to be available for game one. He says, "We just have to wait and see what's going to happen. He will be evaluated again on Saturday." And Monty says, "My faith isn't going to waver now because we've had a few obstacles. We've had obstacles all season long and got through a lot of stuff. You look forward to these challenges, you embrace them, and you move forward." Now, the protocol for the league's playbook, some of you may not know this, for handling all the coronavirus is there. There have been examples of players missing multiple weeks after positive COVID-19 tests. There have also been examples of players missing very short amounts of time for matters such as contact tracing in investigations. And the NBA did relax some of those protocols in March when people getting vaccinated and going out there and putting themselves in a position to be vaccinated. But the league also cautioned at the time, if an individual has symptoms consistent with COVID-19, the previous protocols, which means the earlier protocols before they changed them in March, apply. And it would mean that anyone with those symptoms may, quote, be subject to quarantine regardless of their vaccination status. And remember, this is the second time Chris Paul has gone to the Western Conference Finals. As I mentioned earlier, he'd gone with the Rockets for sure. So, so this is what's happening. They're not saying whether he has it. They're not saying whether he was just around people who have it. They're just saying he's out for the COVID protocol at this point for the next few days and possibly longer if he hasn't been vaccinated. So, for all you Suns fans who are a little bit worried about this, I think you're okay. Is my streaming choppy? Oh, is it? Do you guys see? Is it true? Let me know if my streaming is choppy. I feel like I'm doing okay here with the stream. Yeah, it's the camera that I'm trying to adjust with the new look of the office. I'm trying to get it right. It's not easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's not easy. Maybe I should loosen it up a little. There we go. Maybe I should loosen it up a little bit. Is that it? No, that's how I tighten. There we go. There we go. Sometimes you got to loosen things up a little bit. Let it flow. All right. I think that's good. All right. Anyway. All right. So we'll see. See here. Don't think it's going to be ACL turf for Kawhi. PG-13 takes it to another level these next games with 30-plus and 50-point games, lead the Clips to the Western Conference Finals. Ramon, I appreciate your faith in your Clippers. I don't see that happening, but I appreciate your faith in your Clippers, my man. So I'm trying to really get this right. Sometimes it's about dipping down the camera, the tripod. You all know, you all have cameras. It's just sometimes just that little bit extra, and all of a sudden, you've got the right framing overall. So, all right, there we go. All right, that's better. So we'll see. Looking good. Looking good, John. Perfect. All right, there we go. Yeah, so that's the situation there. So we'll see. So some people were worried about CP3. I think it's actually the right time for this to happen for him, if it's going to happen to him in the playoffs. Because it's going to be, I think this Jazz Clippers thing could go 7. There's certainly a possibility, and certainly some of the Clippers are being pretty confident that they'll go 7. All right, let's move on to our next thing here of what's going on with the injuries here in the NBA, and we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving and James Harden. It's being reported that Kyrie Irving will be out for Game 6. He twisted that right ankle going up for that shot there with a couple of the Bucks, included Giannis right underneath him there. But he has twisted that ankle, so he is out for Game 6 at this point. But Harden is apparently ready to come in to play Game 6 for the Nets. So that's a little surprising overall that he's already back to play Game 6, Harden, with that hamstring issue, because the last time he was out with that hamstring issue, he was out for 2 weeks. And maybe because it's the middle of the season, they felt like they could rest him for a few weeks because the Nets were ready to go and it wasn't going to be an issue. But I mean, so it's the Nets on the heels of playing 46 minutes in his first game in 10 days. James Harden is available to play in Game 6 against the Bucks on Thursday, and Kyrie is out with the right ankle sprain. He will not travel to Milwaukee with the team, so there's not even a game time decision to be made here. He is out, so he's going to keep continuing treatment for sure. I remember Harden has been out since Game 1 because of that hamstring injury. And so we'll see. I mean, I think this is fascinating to take a look at this situation because, I mean, KD last night was incredible. And if some of you remember, when I was on Game Time on Monday, I said it that Kevin Durant would have to score 50 points for them to have a shot to beat these Bucks. And damn, if he didn't almost score, he scored 49 points. He had 17 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He became the man last night for that team. Now, can he keep this effort up? That's the question that a lot of people have. I saw tweeted somebody, one of the writers there for Yahoo, who said, this shuts everybody up. This quiets all the haters. And of course, that's a little bit ridiculous because it's only one game. It's only one game. There's more to come. And this is from, Vince Goodwill, who I like. I love reading Vince Goodwill. I think I enjoy a lot of his takes when he's writing about the NBA. But this whole idea, he said in his article, Kevin Durant has nothing to prove, no validation necessary to show he belongs at the top of the NBA mountain. No asterisks and no questions. I don't think anybody doubts that KD belongs to the top of the NBA mountain. I think all of us pretty much believe KD is one of the greatest players to ever play the game, one of the current greats for sure. The issue comes in that it feels like he is ring chasing rather than leading a team. And there's a difference there because he's already, on his third team? Now, LeBron, you can go back to LeBron. Compare him to LeBron. LeBron was at Cleveland, but he took that 2007 team to the NBA playoffs, to the finals, rather, and there was nobody on that team aside from LeBron. And then went to Miami, won the title with Miami, won 2 titles with Miami, rather, then came back to Cleveland, won that 1 title for Cleveland, then won another title for the Lakers. So he's been, in essence, Cleveland, Miami, Los Angeles, 3 teams. That's what he's been on. Kevin Durant, Seattle, which became OKC, of course. Then he goes to Golden State, wins titles, and now he's on Brooklyn. But could you argue that KD was the alpha dog in any of these situations? Even in Seattle, you could maybe argue that he was the alpha dog in Seattle. I think Ray Allen was there at the time when KD was drafted. So was he the alpha dog? I don't know. But he certainly didn't lead him to the NBA Finals, and he wasn't tearing into the playoffs like the Cavaliers did on the back of LeBron James. And so when Russell Westbrook showed up, when James Harden showed up, then they got to the NBA Finals. But you could argue that he was a co-alpha with Russell Westbrook. He was not the alpha. There was no co-alphas with LeBron until he got to Miami. Then you had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And then Cleveland, you had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. And here, Anthony Davis with the Lakers. So when you look at the situation with KD, winning 1 game in the NBA playoff series where you have to really show up or shut up is great, but it doesn't mean now everybody has to reassess Kevin Durant as a great NBA player. That's to me, that's a ridiculous statement. I think no one's questioning KD's greatness. The Slim Reaper is incredible. It's more a matter of that he's never really led a team. And there's no way Russell Westbrook would ever approve of you saying KD was the alpha on their teams. I'm sure Russell felt he was the alpha. There's no way Dwayne Wade felt he was the alpha when LeBron was there, or they didn't start winning till Dwayne Wade was, yep, I'm the beta, I'm not the alpha. And that's when things changed there in Miami. And the same thing when you looked at OKC, that thing blew up because neither one of them wanted to be the B player on that team. They were both A1 and A2 or 1A and 1B in that situation. And so I think that's where the criticism comes. So I'm glad KD killed it last night. It's fantastic. Vintage KD performance when he is feeling it, when he can step up to the plate and do his thing. It was incredible. Defense was collapsing on him by the end, so other people were able to get shots off. But also the Bucks kind of blew that game as well. The Bucks made some critical mistakes, missed some dunks, missed some easy situations, and what have you. So in the end, you got to look at it. Yes, KD stepped up, but also the Bucks kind of wilted a little bit under the pressure. So I think the Bucks are going to adjust to this situation, step up and win the next game, and then we'll see what happens in Game 7 and who's back for this. But with James Harden on the court, you have to wonder how long is he going to be able to stay on the court with that hamstring injury? Is he going to be an essential part of leading this team with Kevin Durant to a victory over this Bucks team? Or is Giannis and Middleton and Drew Holiday, are they all going to step up and be like, F this, that's enough? And Giannis is going to step out and have himself a 45-point game and kind of take over 20 rebounds or something and take over this and shut KD up. Will they pester Harden into another re-aggravation of the hamstring injury? Will they run him around? Are they going to call plays to get Harden to keep running around to strain his hamstring? Also, how is Steve Nash going to moderate his minutes on Harden? That's another part of this that's a little scary overall. So, and we don't know the extent of Kyrie's Irving. Yeah, absolutely. They can use LeVert for sure. They can use they can use a number, they can use a number of players. Sorry about that. Let me take a look here. There's someone I was thinking of, and it doesn't come to mind right now. Yeah, Joe Harris, absolutely. They could actually rely on him. I know James Harden played 46 minutes for them, but he only got 5 points in this game against the Bucks. So Kevin Durant had to take it over and do his thing. Now, will they push Harden again for a second game in a row, running him all around and re-aggravating that injury? We shall see. Blake Griffin got himself 17 points. He showed up again. So will Blake do his things? Well, Jeff Green is who you really got to look at here. Jeff Green might be this quiet possibility for the Nets. 27 points last night. Jeff Green has been on so many NBA teams, and he has these nights where he shows up and he gives you like 20-plus points and plays an incredible game and is a great facilitator. Not a facilitator, a great scorer, and easing the pressure off the main scorers. So, Harden had 5 points over 46 minutes. Jeff Green had 27 over 35 minutes. So, he was doing his thing. And maybe Harden realized, well, if I sit back and I'm just a point guard, because he had 8 assists last night, Durant had 10. Maybe that helps the team win overall. So maybe the combo works for Durant to have Harden kind of sitting back a little bit. And, of course, those guys know each other from OKC and know each other now playing all season together. So who knows? Could be very, very interesting. Maybe they do put it together and beat these Bucks again and win the series 4-2 and rest up for the Eastern Conference Finals and get Kyrie Irving back from that right ankle sprain because Joel Embiid's up here for the Sixers against these Hawks. And the Sixers, I think, kind of blew it in the last game, and the Hawks won that thing. But, you're relying on a janky knee from Joel Embiid. That's going to be tough for the Sixers to take that series for sure and avoid an even worse injury for Embiid as this goes along. So we shall see. All right, some other news before we wrap up here in the next 20 minutes. I don't know if you guys have sent anything. Let me look on the Streamlabs. It's refreshing. No, cool. But I got a subscriber. TJ never left. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you know when we're dropping new content or surprising live videos like this that happen because I'm in the mood to talk about something. Subscribe to the bell. We'll let you know when to do that for sure. So, yeah, get it done for sure. Justin here is like Justin Guadagno. I like that. I absolutely love Giannis, but he has just proven time and time again that he is not a good decision maker. Have to get the ball out of his hands and get him a real floor general. That's a great point, Justin. You're absolutely right. I think Drew Holiday is a good point guard, but he ain't an elite point guard, right? He's a great point guard. He's not an elite point guard. Can you imagine Giannis with someone like CP3 or Giannis with someone like Kyrie Irving or someone else in the NBA? Even Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert can disappear in games as well. Rudy Gobert has been inconsistent this year as well. So, and there, of course, maybe there's lingering issues between them over that whole COVID situation when there was all this drama between Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. Does Donovan Mitchell you pair him with Giannis? Oof, say goodnight, ladies and gentlemen. That's a hell of a combo for sure. Yeah, LeVert's over with the Pacers. That's for sure. That's a great point you bring up here. with them overall. But I mean, they can get it done if Harden stays healthy for a second game in a row. There's certainly a possibility for them to get this thing. But with the Sixers, I there's a Trae Young maybe senses after they escaped that game, because Ben Simmons missed almost every free throw he took that night. I remember he missed all his free throws that night. That's what you got to look at here, and you wonder if they're going to be able to step up and take care of it. They lost by 3 points, and he missed 4 free throws. That would have been the difference. You know, when you look at this Sixers team and what could have happened with them in this game. Simmons he played 35 points. He played 35 minutes. Holy shit. How do you turn this off? There we go. 35 points, or 35 minutes rather, 11 points. That's all Simmons had. He had 9 assists and 12 rebounds, which is great, but he was 1 of 5 from the field. He's 1 of 5 from the free throw line. So that's 4 misses he had, and they lost by 3. He was 5 of 10. He shot 50% for the game overall. Joel Embiid was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Tobias Harris was 2 of 2. Tobias had a quiet 20 points for the Sixers here. So, I mean, they've got the possibilities, but the Hawks really stepped up here. All their starting 5 were in double figures overall, with Trae Young having 25, Bogdanovich having 22, and Collins getting himself 14 with 12 rebounds. So, and Capella even had 12 points and 13 rebounds. So they really showed up in this game. Can they keep that consistency going? Gallinari only had 7 points. So if Gallinari had been hitting, because he was only 1 of 3 and 1 of 6 from the field, if he had been hitting, who knows? It could have been an even bigger victory, bigger number of points that they, just bigger margin of victory, shall we say. All right, let's move on to some this coaching news that happened as well. Talk about Black Wednesday in the NBA, in essence, like they do Black Monday in the NFL. Stan Van Gundy is out after 1 season as the coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans kind of underperformed this season. He was the executive vice. He had been talking with the executive vice president for the Pelicans, David Griffin, over there. David Griffin had been over there with the Cavaliers when LeBron was there, and so you saw. I just think in the situation here, you look at this, they disappointed. They finished at 31-41 over the season, and they fell short of making the playoffs. David Griffin said in a statement on behalf of Mrs. Gail Benson and the Pelicans organization, she's the owner, "I would like to thank Stan for the integrity and professionalism that he demonstrated during his time in New Orleans, and as well as the commitment and work ethic he brought to our team. This was a difficult decision, as I have tremendous respect for Stan, both personally and professionally, but we agreed it is in the best interest of our team to move forward in a different direction. We wish Stan, Kim, and their family, his wife, all the best in their future." He had been, and the Pelicans are looking to possibly look at Jacques Vaughn, Ime Udoka, Charles Lee, Jason Kidd is a possibility over there for New Orleans as well. But Van Gundy said this near the end of his tenure here, is talking to reporters about how the season played out. He said, "It was a hard year personally because when I took the job, we didn't know what training camp was going to start or any of that stuff. I had not really given a ton of thought to condensed training camp, condensed season, COVID protocols. That stuff was really, really difficult from a personal standpoint for me to go into Detroit and have my kids nearby and I can't see them. That kind of stuff, having to limit people being able to come and visit us and things like that. But on a personal level, it was difficult. On a basketball level, I thought this was a great situation basketball-wise, and it's better than what I thought it was. I wasn't happy with the results. I wasn't happy with myself on some things basketball-wise, but as far as looking at the job as a whole, it's even better than I expected, and I expected it to be good." So they had an up-and-down season for sure. Couldn't get it. They were too inconsistent overall. Couldn't get what they needed to get out of that team to get them into a playoff situation. They finished 23rd in defensive rating and 25th in opponent three-point percentage. They did improve from 29th in defensive rating, but 6 slots, that's not really that big of an improvement. Unless you're going from 12 to 6, going from 29 to 23 isn't that much of an improvement when you're down in that area overall. And, before the All-Star break, they were up to 7th, but the team's offensive rating went the other direction. The Pelicans were 6th before the break and 21st in points scored after the break. They went from 115.6 to 110.4. And this is a team that had some injuries as well. Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Nikai Alexander-Walker, Zion Williamson, all were injured throughout the game, and they were 3-10 in close games. That comes down to coaching. Yes, it comes down to execution, but it also comes down to coaching. Close games are where you show your mettle as a coach, where you show your ability to use your players in the right situations, that you've coached them up to mentally handle the situation. All of that is there when you're a coach in close games. It gets highlighted there. They lost the league high 14 games when they held a double-digit lead during the game. Now, it's the NBA. Teams always go on runs, but that's not a good situation. That's a league high. So they led the league in games where they had a double-digit lead at some point in the game and then lost the game. And yes, they're a young team and all of that development. That's the thing. Gundy was brought in to bring veteran leadership as a coach. Having guided Dwight Howard, having guided a number of younger players during his tenure as coach with the Magic and the Pistons. He had done so many things here overall with his career. So they thought maybe he could get Zion Williamson on board, get all the team to rally around that and make it happen. He did well in Miami, had a 605 winning percentage in Miami, had a 657 winning percentage in Orlando. He did guide the Heat, remember that, to the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2004, 2005. And then, of course, they brought Riley came down and let him go and brought in Spoelstra to coach the team, and they ended up winning championships there with him at the helm. 3 of them, I think they won. One with Dwayne Wade and Shaq, and the other 2 with LeBron and Wade and Bosh for sure. But he only had 1 winning season in Detroit from 2004 to 2018, and he has a career record of 554 and 425. So to me, this is just a situation where you have an old coach coming in with these young players. He's not going to get the most out of them. And Stan Van Gundy can be, he's certainly can be a player's coach, but he can be an irritating coach, I'm sure, to play for as well. He's very knowledgeable about the game of basketball, but is he knowledgeable to reach the younger generation nowadays? And I don't sense that he is. The NBA loves having these lifers come into these situations. I mean, the Portland Trailblazers are reportedly talking to Mike D'Antoni. I'm like, what? Why? These guys have had their time. Back when I was growing up, it was Gene Shue and Kevin Loughery. Those are the guys, or Dick Motta. Those are the guys that were getting or Thaddeus, whatever his name was. They were getting multiple stints to be coaches at all these different places rather than them going after young coaches. So I'd rather see a team take a chance at a young coach for a couple of years and see if that coach can implement a system, has a shorthand with the players, can put things in motion. We're seeing it in the NFL more and more, where we don't have the Wade Phillipses anymore head coaching teams and going from team to team to be a head coach. We're seeing young assistants being given shots to lead teams like Sean McVay and whatever. And Andy Reid is the exception. Bruce Arians, those are the older exceptions overall. And they have obviously tasted success recently, but it's the young coaches that are kind of grabbing the attention of the NFL. And the same thing should be happening in the NBA. Sure, Tyronn Lue is a young coach there with those Clippers for sure. There are a number of young coaches in the NBA, so you want to see that more and more. And, I'm not saying anything negative against these older guys, but, maybe the dinosaurs need to move on and let the younger guys come in and coach these teams. Now, you've made enough money. If you've invested wisely with the coaches' salaries, the way they've exploded over the last few years, you should be fine to take care of yourself, take care of your family and whatever. Move on. Enjoy the game. Watch from the sidelines. Call the game. Van Gundy's great on the mic when he's calling the game. He's not as good as his brother, but he's good on the mic. He's got a hometown kind of feeling, homespun. You're sitting at a bar with a guy kind of vibe when he's calling a game. And so I like that. So, yeah, it's time for him to in this situation. So we shall see. All right. So what else have we got here? Oh, yeah. So finally, let's wrap up here talking about Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks was him and the Wizards parted ways here after he'd been with the organization for a number of years and not going to extend his contract. They said Tommy Shepard, who's the Wizards GM, said, we've been committed to taking the proper steps over the last 2 seasons to develop our young players, bring in pieces to complement Bradley Beal, and build a winning environment that will ultimately lead to sustained on-court success. Our organization will always be grateful to Scott for his dedication to work both on the court and in the community over the past 5 years. And I personally admire and respect how he helped keep our team together during the unprecedented events of the last 15 months. They apparently couldn't come to an agreement. This is according to Wojo over there at ESPN, Adrian Wojnarowski. They could not come to an agreement on a new contract. And he led the Wizards to the playoffs for the first time in 3 seasons. But they, of course, got beat by the 76ers in that series. But you look in 5 seasons that Scott Brooks has been there, the Wizards are 183 and 207 with 3 playoff appearances, including making the Eastern Conference semis in 2016, 2017. So certainly not a bad coach, but certainly not a great coach. And so maybe the Wizards feel they've got to find a new coach here to satisfy Bradley Beal, to keep Bradley Beal attached to the organization, and Russell Westbrook happy as well. So they really played an incredible season this year. On April 5th, they were 17 and 32, but then rallied to win 17 out of the next 23 games. Went 17-6 from there. Got that 8th seed. Had to beat Indiana to get that 8th seed. Then went and played the Sixers. I think they took a game off the Sixers, and there were possibilities, but in the end, there wasn't enough there for him to stay. And maybe they felt, because they didn't want to, kind of work on a new or kind of come to the terms that Scott wanted. Maybe the Wizards also felt like, at times we're done here. We're going to move on and find another coach. They had to deal with the John Wall situation. They tried to get Kevin Durant into Washington. That never really materialized. They do the thing. So I think Tommy Shepard is figuring out what works for these Wizards. They got into the playoffs. So it speaks well about the young core. They were able to fight and not just accept being, a team that's underperforming. Look at the Pelicans. They underperformed and they didn't make the playoffs. The Wizards did. So that speaks volumes to how the character of the team. And Scott Brooks deserves some credit for that, for building that character as a coach within the team, that belief in themselves overall. So we shall see who they look at. Brooks had been the 7th longest tenured coach in this current job. That's incredible. He used to be NBA coaches were there for like forever. But he's behind Popovich, Spoelstra, Carlisle, Steve Kerr, Quinn Snyder, and Michael Malone. So it's everybody else has been in their jobs less over time than Scott Brooks has been in Atlanta. So there are 6 head coach openings now in the NBA: Boston, Indiana, New Orleans, Orlando, Portland, and Washington. Nate McMillan, of course, is the interim head coach right now in Atlanta, and he will probably be signed full time to be the coach in Atlanta starting next year because of how they're playing in the playoffs, for sure. But we talked about on Game Time on Monday, there are women out there who are interviewing for these jobs. Becky Hammond, Dawn Staley. There are, I think I can think of 2 or 3 other women that have a pedigree in coaching in the WNBA or in college that should get a shot here to step in and possibly interview for these jobs. I'd love to have a woman coach with the Wizards. I'd have no problem with that. It'd be fantastic to see that happening. So, we'll see who steps in to these situations. We'll see who they're going to be taking a look at. It's all the same people that you've heard about all the time, and to me, if I'm looking at this situation, if I'm looking at Boston, Indiana, New Orleans, Orlando, Portland, or Washington, Portland looks real attractive. If I want to be a head coach, Portland is where I want to go. They've got a good roster. They got to make some changes, but changes shouldn't be too extreme to get them to a position of winning. So we shall see how that goes down. But New Orleans, that's tough. Is Zion going to stay? Indiana, always, what we call in wrestling, pro wrestling, a mid-carder. Indiana's a mid-card team, always. Boston, there are a lot of possibilities with Tatum and Jaylen Brown and whatever. But what are you going to do about the Kemba Walker situation? Are you going to try to swing a trade? As a coach, are you going to step in and you don't even have a starting point guard of all-star caliber, which Kemba Walker had been before he came to Boston? Those are the things you consider in these situations. And Orlando is just is a dumpster fire. You don't want to go anywhere near Orlando unless you're trying to, get some coaching experience on your resume as a head coach overall. All right, that's what's going on in the NBA. I don't think I've got any more. I don't think I got any Streamlabs and Super Chats that have come through. So let me wrap up there because I got to jump on to some Geek Buddy stuff for sure. Thank you all so much for watching this episode, this impromptu episode of the NBA playoffs. I really enjoyed your chat, the back and forth. People talking about Kyle Lowry. Appreciate that. Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook are a great tandem. I agree. Ryan Christensen, I agree. Hachimura has been playing well as well. Bertans. So, if they could get a couple more pieces, this could be a dangerous team in the East. Certainly a lot of guts, a lot of moxie, a lot of gravel in their guts, and I appreciate that overall. So we shall see. But yeah, thank you all so much. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so down below. Hit that red subscribe button, hit the bell as well so you know when we're dropping new content. Give this thing a like, Share it on your social media as well. And then follow me, as you say, is right there at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And see my Patreon right there. Boom. Patreon.com/John Rocha. We had four of you join last night. Thank you so much. Please come aboard the Patreon. We do multiple hangouts. We're about to start doing Patreon shows that are Patreon only, either Patreon only for them to view or Patreon only for them to participate in. That is going to start happening in July. Criterion Corner is coming back. Ask the Outlaw, the mailbag show is coming back. Those of you who enjoy my mailbag shows on Collider, that'll be coming back. And also the Outlaw Rides Again, which is me with my co-host Sol Govin, taking a look at some of my former matches or some of the previous matches in the Schmoedown, doing watch-alongs for them and talking about either my strategy or what I see the strategy being and analyzing the game overall as we watch it. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do there on the Patreon. So please go and join there and see those. Plus, if you're on the Patreon after 3 months, you get to participate in these kind of pseudo movie trivia matchups that we have going on. We have tag teams and singles that we're doing behind for only the Patreons. Only Patreons can participate. Only patrons can participate. Only patrons can view it. So it's very much just amongst the patrons there, competing with each other, having a lot of fun there, doing movie trivia. So really great stuff going on there. And after 3 months, you can also help me train for any of my upcoming matches. You know, you see me, I think I've played 5 matches this year already. 3 of them ended in TKOs, 2 of them ended in tough losses, but they were close. And the reason I'm playing some of the best Schmoedown of my life is because of the great training I'm getting with my patrons and also with my faction. So maybe you can be a part of it. You can own a piece of any of my victories or any of my good showings if you come to get Patreon for 3 months and then get to train me for the contest. So there you go. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Hope you get vaccinated and all that. Wear your mask if you feel like it, or don't. If you don't feel like it, I suppose, free country. But I'm going to keep wearing my mask, so just let me know, because you don't want to end up in situations like CP3 being sidelined for a bit and being in quarantine for a bit as you get over this thing. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And don't forget, we're dropping Geek Buddies episode later on tonight. Tomorrow, we'll drop our Loki review episode there with our guest, Emma Fife. And then, of course, John and Wendy Explain the World on Friday. And then look for my reviews for The Hitman's Bodyguard, for Luca, which comes out this week, and for In the Heights. I'll drop it over the weekend for sure. Don't forget, over the weekend, Strong Style, 12 p.m. PT. Aaron Turner went to the NXT tapings last night. So I'm going to talk about his experience, but also talk about all the stuff going on in the world of professional wrestling. All right. Much love to all of you. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time on another brand new episode of Game Time here on the Outlaw Nation channel.